Dereta, dereta, dereta. Stop, stop, stop. Okay, okay. Hop, 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 hop. No le mueva. Asparagus.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. So in the video today, I wanted to discuss what my test day routine is. So whenever I have an exam, what do I do before taking the exam? So hopefully this video is helpful for those of you who are in your didactic year or even your clinical year, and it helps you basically how to prepare better for an exam in PA school. So in didactic year, you have a lot of exams. I remember when I was in didactic year, I would have a minimum of 1 exam each week. Sometimes there would be weeks where I had more than 1 exam, 2 exams a week, 4 exams, six exams a week, and then on finals, which was the worst, I had about 12 exams or 8 exams a week. So I had a lot of exams my didactic year. Versus my clinical year, I had about 2 exams every month. So of course it slowed down a lot, but the exams are a lot harder in comparison to my didactic year. So what was my test day routine? So my test day routine, usually my exams during my didactic year were in the morning. So usually at 8 a.m. they were scheduled. I always made sure that I had a minimum of 8 hours sleep prior to taking my exams. Sleep is really, really important. I can't not emphasize this enough, because it helps you retain information. During your didactic year, you'll be in your psychiatric module where you will learn about the pathology, pathophysiology, and the physiology of psychiatric illnesses like bipolar disease, but you'll also learn about sleep disorders and basically the physiology of sleep and how good sleep is not only to your body but to your brain, and how sleep will help you with your memory. Sleep basically helps you. All the information that you're learning and you're reading and you're cramming will not stay in your brain if you're not sleeping the sufficient amount of hours every day, or if you don't have a good sleep hygiene. That's what it's called, is sleep hygiene. So you always want to make sure that when you're studying, especially the day prior to your exam, you want to make sure that you sleep. I know some of my classmates will usually just do overnights or all-nighters and study all night, but in my recommendation, I really do not recommend it. And I have to say that my first semester of PA school, I didn't know how to study and I didn't know how the exams were. I was a terrible exam tester, so I experienced everything. Some of my classmates told me, hey, you know, pulling all-nighters are working marvels for me, so I tried doing that and it did not do the same thing for me. On the contrary, I felt like I went into shock when I was taking one of my exams. I couldn't remember anything because I was so sleep deprived. And usually when you're sleep deprived, all these information does not stay in your head. Also, according to scientific research, they say that every 4 hours that you're studying, make sure that you take a break. Whether it's a 15-minute power nap, or if it's 15 minutes of just getting up, walking around, taking your dog out to eat, or just watching your favorite YouTuber. Make sure that you always get those 15 minutes, at least minimum of break. That way you don't fatigue yourself when you're studying, because burnout is really, really contagious during your didactic year because you're studying all the time. There'll be a time where you're just like, I can't study anymore. I'm exhausted and I'm tired. And to prevent this, you want to make sure you take breaks every 4 hours, if possible, if you can. And also making sure that you sleep, because if you don't sleep, it's going to catch up with you guys. So I do not recommend all-nighters or sleeping 4 hours a day, etc. On the contrary, instead of cramming all this information, I really recommend that you're on top of everything from day one that you start learning new information. So during your didactic year, you have modules. So you'll have your cardiovascular module where you learn the physiology of the cardiac system, how the heart works. You'll learn the pathophysiology of the diseases, so cardiovascular diseases, the pharmacology, and the clinical medicine part, so how to diagnose these diseases, how to treat diseases. So you learn this in modules, in blocks. Now, not all PA programs are like that, but my PA program is like this. You learn it in blocks. So usually those blocks tend to last between 4 to 6 weeks. During summer, they're a lot shorter, but you learn medicine in these blocks, cardiovascular, your digestive system. And once that block is done, you'll start your new one. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is that you start studying on the first day that your next module starts. So for example, I just finished my cardiovascular on Friday. I had all my exams on Friday. So Saturday and Sunday I will relax. I will make sure I catch up on my sleep, because sometimes I'm just so stressed out I can't sleep. But like I said, I try to make sure I have good sleep hygiene. And sometimes I'm just so mentally drained that Friday that I just go home and I just make sure I sleep and I am feeling rested and well to start studying again. And then that Saturday and Sunday I'll go out with friends and have fun. And then Monday, on my first day of my next module, I make sure that I start getting ready for my exams, whether it's flashcards, creating flashcards, which I really recommend. Repetition, repetition, repetition is a key in PA school, guys. You want to make sure that you retain that information and don't get rid of it, because it's going to come back and haunt you, whether it's during your exams or whether it's during your clinical year. And I've seen it come back and haunt me during my clinical year. So that's why it's really important of repetition. So on day one, I start creating flashcards, and I make sure that I make those flashcards on whatever new information I learned that Monday. And then I have class, for example, on Wednesday, and I add to my flashcards from that information on Wednesday, and then I do this subsequently, and I'm making sure I'm going over the information every day, and I'm studying every day. That way that by the time that I have my exam week comes around, usually there'll be some students that will cram the last few weeks before the exam, and they're trying to cram all these information, and it sometimes doesn't work because you're going to exhaust yourself. Instead of doing that, do a little every day, and then by the time your exam comes around, you won't be as anxious, because that's how I caught myself the first semester of didactic year. I was so anxious because I felt like I didn't know anything, I didn't know everything, and I did really poor on my exams. And this was the reason why, is because I was chilling during my first few weeks, and then by the time the exams came around, I was just anxious because I was trying to cram everything, and that's not the answer. You want to make sure that you are rested, you're not anxious, you don't have that anxiety, and it's gonna help you a lot on your exams. And sleep will do wonders for you guys on your exams. I noticed that because whenever I slept, my grades were like, in comparison to days that I did not sleep, my grades were just bad. And that's because your exams usually require a higher level of critical thinking, and if you are sleep deprived, you're not going to be able to critically think on some of the questions. Of course, some of the questions are just recall, right? But then you have those questions that are just higher level critical thinking. And if you can't sit there and think straight, or if you're falling asleep, I know there were some of my classmates that would sit there and they said they would close their eyes and they would knock out during the exam. And this was something that I was just terrified of. So that's why you have to make sure you are on your best, that you have slept well enough so you can score as high as you can on your exams. And then once you're done with your exams, guys, just go and treat yourself. I would go out with my friends, go get some drinks, go to a restaurant, go get some food, and then sleep the rest of the day. So that's why it's really important to have good sleep hygiene. And that's basically how my test day routines were. I made sure I always slept. So I can't recommend this enough. Make sure you do not cram. I do not recommend cramming whatsoever. Does not work. Did not work for me. You want to make sure that your mind is fresh, your brain is fresh. Also, another thing, do not change your answers on your exams. Usually when you are looking at a question and you're going through the question and your brain tells you it's one answer first thing, make sure that you click whatever your brain tells you and don't go back and change it, because usually your brain is telling you it's that answer for some reason, because it's recalling that information from somewhere you saw it, somewhere you studied it, somewhere you heard it, someone said it, etc. So you want to make sure that you do not change your answer on your questions. That's another thing. Okay. All right, guys, I hope this video was helpful for you guys. As always, if you guys have any questions for me, make sure to email me, comment below, and I will get back with you guys as soon as I can. And sleep, 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 repetition, repetition, and do not cram whatsoever. This is what I recommend for your didactic year and your clinical year, and you'll see the wonders it does for you. It definitely changed my grades significantly, my second semester and my third semester of didactic year and my clinical year. So I really, really recommend this. I struggled a lot my first semester because I didn't know how to study, but once I learned this, it did wonders for me. So hopefully it does the same for you guys. Alright guys, thanks for watching my channel, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.